call the meeting to order for the Tuesday, January 7, 2014 regular meeting. At this time, I would ask for approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Bickle, seconded by Board Member Shoemaker to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Next item on the agenda is audience participation. This will be the first and only opportunity for members of the audience to address the board. We'll move on to item 4, which is report of committees.
We have Patrick Lowry here to report on the Facilities Needs Committee.
This is a good spot. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've given this board a short progress report before, but as some of the faces have changed, I welcome you to the process. I also appreciate you allowing me to continue as co-chair of the committee despite missing my last scheduled meeting. Not that you'd have had much luck finding a replacement, but the Facilities Needs Committee has been meeting for over a year now, and the end might be in sight, hopefully. Last month we had a 4-hour session during which time administrators offered their final list of recommendations that's been based on all the input they've been getting from, or that we've been getting from stakeholders at all the various buildings. The presentation was useful, detailed, and on the same path the committee has been heading for some time. We as a committee found consensus on almost every point. The committee has pored over the details of each building, how space could best be utilized, what was missing or inadequate, and what needed to be replaced. The list is long and honestly expensive, as we were charged with discovering how the district would best be served 20 to 30 years down the road. There are some big ticket items that need to be considered. Just compensating for the lack of appropriate maintenance over the years has quite. As you've been looking over the same concerns and statuses that we have, perhaps you're over the sticker shock. I won't quote a figure at this point because the committee has not yet voted on a final plan, but I do believe there probably will be sticker shock in the community. The work will be done, need to be done regardless, but you'll have your work cut out convincing the public of that need. One tool that I would recommend you seriously consider is the services offered by the Docking Institute. Not only can they measure the likelihood that a bond issue would pass, they can break it down into components to gauge support of each and every part, and they can also assist in that education effort. But enough of the shameless plugs. The committee is planning on meeting with the architects from HTK again on Friday. We'll look at the revised cost estimates of the plan as it now stands. We're getting very close to having a recommendation to present to you. I won't predict the date, but it should be soon. Any questions that I can deflect for you?
I got one with the Docking Institute. You've had some conversations with them, or they came to present, I guess?
They came and gave a presentation before they had a firm grasp on exactly what they would be contracted for.
Okay. Were they looking at doing that survey before or after there's been some public release of as to what we need? Did they say?
I think that's your call. Before what's released, the amount?
Well, the amount and kind of what we need and
The plan.
yeah, the plan.
Well, that's going to be out there, I think, before you could engage them anyways. Once we've got a recommendation that we're presenting to you, and if part of that is that we'd recommend hiring them, the amount, probably a lot of the details would be out. But just based on what they did in Ellis, they did a very detailed analysis of what was there, and then the likelihood, and as it turned out, the likelihood was not very high of passing, but I think they could be utilized to help facilitate passage.
Was there a cost associated with that?
Not at this point, only because we did not give them a scope of the project.
Good.
I'd like to take this time to thank you and everybody on the committee for your time and effort. I know it's kind of a thankless job, but I know it struck on to a year now, and you guys have met a lot of times. And thank you very much for your time. And please tell everybody on the committee thank you for me, at least.
I will do that, and I appreciate it.
And you can have a raise.
Fantastic. Okay,
Yep, see you 7 o'clock Friday.
okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other committee reports?
No.
Moving on to item 5, which is communication from other organizations.
We have the written Hayes Rec Commission report that's attached.
Questions or discussion on that? Move on to item 6, which is the superintendent report.
Yes, I first of all want to do a couple plugs here. One for insurance planning has donated $500 to each elementary school and $1,000 to the middle school and $3,000 to the foundation, the 489 Foundation, which I believe that money goes to driver's ed scholarships, kids who can't afford the enrollment fees. And just wanted to publicly thank them for their support of the schools. I think they've done this for several years, and it's just a good program, and I know the schools can really use that money and appreciate it. And just another plug for acknowledging the community at large for the outpouring of generosity during the holiday season, for all their donations and what they did for a lot of the families that we have in the district, and it made a big difference in the type of holiday break they had. And again, Hayes is really tremendous on how much support there is for families, and we really appreciated that. I know our kids did a lot to help see that happen, but it was very, very rewarding to see. A couple other things. The legislative session starts Monday, January 13th, which I can say can't get here soon enough, but I hope it ends sooner. So we have some idea what to expect next year. There's a lot of things out there. One, obviously, the lawsuit, a lot of dialogue on what the Supreme Court will say, whether they fine for the schools or state. I think everybody's leaning that they'll fine for the schools, but where's the money come from if they do say you need to fund it more? We may have a little bit more of an idea on Wednesday, the 15th. The governor gives his State of the State address, and some of the things he's talked about is funding all-day kindergarten, some of those things that I think is important. I hope they do. My fear is that they'll fund that but cut it somewhere else. I don't know if there's more money available in the state that they can put into education, but so those are two dates that are coming up that are very important, and hopefully they'll make a lot of progress early on budget and finance. Update on the Victory Road turnaround project. I did approve a bid for commercial builders for $9,470 to do the turnaround. We don't have a date set to begin construction, but we are working with that TMP and trying to get that project started. The next little update I have is on Pure Zone. We talked about them coming in and doing this manpower study to visit where we are with square footage and how many people we have cleaning and all of those things. They've done that, and just, in a nutshell, and this is, take this with a grain of salt, but we average per custodian cleaning 16,922 square feet. Custodians, if you look at level 2, which is the uppermost cleaning level, I mean, expectations for clean, a custodian can clean between 18,000 and 20,000 square feet. The next level down, a level 3, is 28,000 to 31,000 per square feet. But that is when you spend all your time cleaning, and they were here yesterday again, Pure Zone, checking on these things now. They're measuring different floor types, assessing equipment. I know we don't have big equipment, which probably should have been, purchased before, where at the high school especially, where you have the big wide halls, the writing machines and those things, rather than doing everything with the narrower hand ones. But they're assessing those types of things, seeing what we have, what we can use. Another big thing was looking then at how we use our custodians. All that time they spend isn't cleaning. We have them doing other duties. One of the things that when I met with the gentleman yesterday, talked about how much time one particular custodian spends picking up and delivering laundry, and another with mail. I mean, we have mail runs, and they're not combined. If we had one person just doing that wasn't a custodian, we would be a lot more efficient too. So he's putting all this together, should have the whole packet of information here soon. But it's been really eye-opening, I guess, and rewarding to think that I think we're going to see some changes and be more efficient and really see some things happen. So that's in the process. And that is my report.
Any questions or discussion? Next item, item 7, is the financial report.
I just wanted to let you guys know the monthly year-to-date comparison I showed you last month. We should have that prepared around the 10th of the month once everything's been closed, and we've been able to compile that data. So that will be presented with the agenda packet ahead of time before the next meeting. And we are also meeting this week to kind of get a final plan for the budget for the rest of this fiscal year, and we will have that information also to you by the work session on the 20th. And I also want to tell you we have implemented direct check. It is a debit card that can be used for payroll, acceptance of payroll for people who may not have a checking account. So we are now offering those two options, either direct deposit or the direct check to our staff. So that should eliminate the paper checks that we're currently giving for payroll, and we should be hopefully eliminating that by the end of the month.
Do you have an estimate on the cost savings by switching to that?
Versus the paper checks? I don't know really a definite amount, more the time it takes to, manually print those, sign them, distribute them, mail, things like that.
I know our company shifted to those a couple of years ago, and the savings was significant. So
I think we will see.
Yeah.
And we've already reduced it just in the last month by offering it. We've already reduced the amount of checks greatly.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Any further questions? Item 8 is the SMART goal update.
What we have done, this is going to be, like I say every time, a document that we change all the time. It is online, and as we make the changes, and I'll review a few of those, they're in red and either crossed through, underlined, those things. And we did arrange it according to the timeline to make it a little bit easier, so they're not all, it's in a little bit different order, but just wanted to hit on a few things here. You can see over on the left the completion status. We added all of those. They correspond with the numbers assigned under that are strategies and action steps, so you can follow those as we go down. Insurance planning has been here, done the walkthroughs, making recommendations and doing a lot on the workers' comp issues that we had. I think it's not obviously not going to make a difference overnight, but what Tracy's done, just bringing people's awareness to the difference it makes to be conscious of slippery sidewalks, streets, using common sense when you're doing things. It's nice to see that in bulletins and things coming up all the time. So that is making an impact there. Budget and finance, monthly presentations. Tracy just gave that presentation, and this meeting in January, or the second time here we meet, the 21st, I believe, we'll have more detail. It's taking longer than what we thought, but we want to make sure we get everything done correctly and do it right. And I appreciate the timelines we have, and we'll keep adjusting as we go. But again, I don't want to just rush in and say, oh, we met the timeline and not have any information that's worthwhile. Work sessions, I think that was the last work session we had, I thought was very, very productive. I really like the way that went. Looking forward to the next one. On page 2 there, let's see, budget and finance, finance cost benefit analysis, fiscal impact on agenda. Again, January, is it the 20th or 21st? What's the?
20th.
It is the 20th, okay. On Tuesdays, I guess, here, today. Board policy review, this is going to be a big, big undertaking. We are in the process, actually, Bill Jeter is going to be in tomorrow, and we're going to start reviewing and formulating a plan to hit all of those ideas and topics that we had from our planning session or retreat, and get started on that. The more we go through things, the more we notice when we talked about things that are in policy that we don't do. As we go through a lot of these things, we had a meeting today again with HR on how hiring processes and how to do all of those things, and just looking at some of the documents, putting it together. There's just a whole list of things that it's going to take some time and effort, but it'll be done right. And by the time, this time next year, we'll be able to say we're following what the policies say, and I'll be glad to see that. But we find more all the time as we go through. Let's see, as far as the calendar to when the policies will be reviewed and those things, Elizabeth has a draft of that now, and by the next time here on the 20th, we should be able to review that and get you up to speed. Let's see. Robert's Rules of Orders we will discuss tonight, and Bill has some information and try to get that piece of it hashed out and get that change made as soon as possible. Presentations for the board, we've reviewed that with the principals and anybody that's going to be presenting. I think that's going to make a big difference as we go through. That was a really good idea, and glad that was suggested. I just talked about some of the things here with Peer Zone and doing the organizational charts we're working on, but doing the grounds and maintenance manager position, all that's in the works. I think Tracy has all the salary information back now from Fort Hays on custodial and those pieces, so we'll put all that together and again have a report here soon on those things. Organizational charts we're working, and again, I know she has the information on part of what we had asked for, and the rest will come in February. But Brian is, yes, he's still sitting there. Brian Drennan started I don't know, how long have you worked now? A week?
December 16th?
Yeah. It seems like it's just been a little bit ago with the break and everything in there, but he's done an excellent job. He jumped right in and has a lot of stuff going, and addressing a lot of the things that we'll talk about with revamping technology department, how we do business with that, doing tickets for technology issues, maintenance, all those. He's going to be a huge asset, and we're glad to have him on board. Let's see, anything else here that need to... one question, I mean, there's some of these things on the very last page that, you know, we need to negotiate, and we'll have those on the list. And a question I have, Bill, is there anything that says we can't give incentives? Is there,
There are some restrictions on incentives to
We might need
the
to get...
staff, you mean?
Yes.
In terms like a bonus?
Yeah. We might need to get some of that information here before we start, but I just thought of that when I was going through here, just to bring that up. As we go through, I'm not going to go through this every time we meet, but hit the highlights, but since it's changed formats, and just kind of a general description of how it is, and it is public document, it's a working document, it'll be online, but we will hit the highlights and really discuss where we are on each one as we get there. I'm not going to keep going over the same things, but it's been, good to come back and start the new year, and I think everybody is really looking forward to getting started on this again. And it's going to be very, very good. I'm glad to be here and working on it.
Thanks, Steve.
Questions or?
Moving on to item 9 is the consent agenda, which includes the board meeting minutes from the December 9, 2013 meeting, personnel transactions, financial reports, November clerk's report, November investment report, approval of bills in the amount of $2,657,451.85. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'd move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Been moved by Board Member Liker, seconded by Board Member Bickle to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item 10, new business. The first item for new business is the Roosevelt Chiller bid specs and timeline.
Board members, due to conflict of interest, I'm going to abstain from this vote.
We had our bid opening and had 2 bids submitted. One from Knipp Equipment for $49,383.40, and the second from Glassman Corporation for $39,000 even. Both bids meet the specs. There is I'm going to recommend that we approve Glassman, the low bid. And in the information that was provided, they had talked about the starters taking time to get a 45-day period to get starters in. I talked to Joe about that, and they're actually going to rebuild the starters that we have. All of those will fit right in there, and that's just a matter of weeks, so we should meet the timeline. Everything should be set. So I'm going to recommend that we go with Glassman, and should be close to the February 7th completion date, then, like we said. So
You had stated 39,000 even. I assume it's 39.9.
I'm sorry, 39.9. Yes, gosh, thank you. Yeah, 39,900.
Do we have a motion to accept the recommendation and accept the Glassman Corporation bid in the amount of $39,900?
I'll move to approve the bid from Glassman Corporation in the amount of $39,900.
Second. Been moved by Board Member Shoemaker, second by Board Member Bickle to accept the Glassman bid in the amount of $39,900. Is there any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0, or 5-0. And the next item on the agenda, we'll wait for Danielle to come back in. Learn how to cheat and watch the video in the other room. Next item is the policy revisions, the first of those being to section BCBF, Rules of Order. Do we want to take these up separate or just put them together?
I think we can do them together, can't we, Bill?
Yeah, I just do it
Because they're all
together.
kind of...
Item 2 then is section BCBG and voting method.
Dean asked me to look at those, and as you probably know, there are no statutory requirements regarding procedures for rules of order, so you're free to adopt whatever process you want to, or you could have no rules for that matter. These two provisions are the primary provisions in your policies relating to voting and rules of order. BCBF specifically provides that Robert's Rules of Order shall not be adopted by the board. That comes from a recommendation from KSB. I'm personally not aware of where we've ever had any issues relating to rules of order, and because of the complexity of Robert's Rules of Order, I don't see any reason to adopt Robert's Rules of Order. If you look at the first sentence in the last paragraph under that policy, it says it shall not be necessary for a motion to be before the board to discuss an agenda item. That's inconsistent with what your practice has been, so you may want to delete the word not, so it would read it shall be necessary for a motion to be before the board to discuss an agenda item. And that would be my only recommendation for change on BCBF. On BCBG, voting method, the first paragraph relates to how votes are taken, which is fairly consistent with what your process has been. So I don't have any recommendation there. It also, in that policy, correctly states the law in terms of how you treat an abstaining vote, and also how you resolve a conflict of interest, which one of our board members just did in the appropriate fashion. And those being restatements of the law, I don't have any recommended changes there either.
Do we have any discussion, or?
Bill, did I understand that correctly? You're not recommending that we use Robert's Rules of Order then?
Yes, I would recommend not adopting Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay.
They're very complex, and I don't see why we need them. We've not ever had any issues.
Well, I think we talked about this in some detail at the retreat, and I disagree. I mean, I understand we haven't had any issues. The problem being, I think, is that the point of it is to avoid those going forward, or if they do present, then you have something in place to address those issues. I think on a number of these, you know, I guess we could probably change how we vote, and we probably need to if we're going to follow policy, but we've, you know, according to our policy, if we're going to keep what we have, we need to modify it in quite some fashion. We don't vote by a raising of the hands or other public voting method, and I guess we probably need to decide what that means, but we also don't vote yes or no. But I think I don't know that Robert's Rules of Order causes us any problems, and I thought we'd all kind of agreed at that time that that's what we were going to do. I agree that they can be cumbersome and they are lengthy, but I don't know that, I mean, most boards I've been on follow either Robert's Rules of Order or some form thereof, and so I would suggest we still move in that direction that we talked, and that would be that we adopt Robert's Rules of Order except as it conflicts with state statute, and I think the only place it does is, as mentioned, 728205.
Bill, do you know, do the other governmental agencies or entities use Robert's Rules of Order? Meaning city commission,
Not that
county
I'm aware. I
commission?
don't know what the city commission does.
The city does.
City does.
Yeah.
And I think the county commission years ago also adopted Robert's Rules of Order.
Craig, do you want, I mean, if that's the direction, what do we, as far as the policy goes, we just say approve Robert's rules with the, exception of,
I think we just have one, use one of those two sections and maybe probably BCBF and say the board adopts Robert's Rules of Order.
but don't have the
Except-
rules of order in here.
Right, and then, what I would recommend is that each board member, upon
copy.
taking office, gets a copy of Robert's Rules of Order.
You could delete the second sentence in the first paragraph and replace it with the language that President Schwartz suggested.
But it's your recommendation and KSAB's recommendation that we do not adopt.
That's correct. I don't care.
You don't care.
No.
But you say it's just cumbersome.
I mean, if you want to, they're long and cumbersome, and I don't think you need to.
Do you have any
But that's your
idea how many
decision.
school boards use Robert's Rules of Order? The state?
There's probably not very many
Yeah, I
because
don't-
KSB does not recommend.
Yeah, when
that they
you
adopt
talk
it.
to them, I don't know if there's any, but that's been their stance for,
Long time, yeah.
KSB has that opinion because Robert's Rules of Order conflicts with state statute on a couple of things. Is that?
and this is
Yeah.
one of them there.
Yeah.
I don't want to make too big of an issue out of it. I just think it's, they're fairly simple. If you served on any other boards, most of them follow Robert's rules. I understand school boards may not, but I don't know. It's a,
We all have the ability to learn it, so.
yeah.
Well, what I suggest then is we will get, copies of Robert's rules and make the changes that we're just talking about, and then bring that back. And I think at the work session, we can talk about that and make sure everybody understands exactly what's in there, and then make the change if that's the direction, so that'd be good.
Sounds good.
Okay.
After looking through this stuff, Dean, do you have a preference
After
one way or
what?
the- After looking through some of this stuff or discussing this, do you have a preference one way or the
Well,
other?
again, KASB talked about it. I think, looking at changing how the motions are made and when discussion can happen, it pretty much follows really Roberts. There's other things involved, obviously. If we make sure we're not conflicting with anything, again, kind of like Bill, then it really doesn't make any difference if.
So we'll
As long
write
as-
this policy in a way that says the board will adopt Robert's Rules of Order with the exception of.
And then have that laid out, whatever there is. If there's something else, I'm not aware of anything else, but there could be.
Well, I think the only other, the abstention would be one, and the other is that, well, you have to have a majority of a quorum to pass anything, to where we actually have to have 4 votes to pass anything, I believe.
You require a majority of the full board.
Right, so it'd be 4 votes.
4 votes regardless of how many are here.
Right, so,
And those may be the only 2 things that I think conflict.
that's all I can think of.
That's what we will do.
Item 11, is there any further discussion on that? Item 11 is discussion by board members and agenda requests. And item 12 is executive session. And Dean, it's my understanding we need a executive session for
Negotiations.
negotiations. How long do we need?
Probably like 15 minutes for right now, and then we'll review some things and bring that back on the 20th. And
We never get done at 15. I'm going to, and not that I
You think
don't
we
want to
need
follow
more?
your
Okay.
advice, we're never done when we say we're going to
That's
do
true.
so. I'm going to make a motion to go in for 20 minutes for,
Okay.
to include the school board, the superintendent, the finance director, who else do you want in? And the board attorney. Is there anyone else?
Mark's usually involved with
You want
that
Mark and
in
Shannon?
the past, so.
Okay, and then Mark and Shanna as well, for the purposes of discussing negotiations.
Second.
It's been moved by myself and seconded by Board Member Shoemaker to enter into executive session for a period of 20 minutes as set forth. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.